Well, out of all those thousands of books, we managed to find the journal that was in.
And you got it very quickly, too. But why, for a job like that, do you have to use your computer to talk to another computer? Why not have all the information in a box like that?
If you take a book like this has approximately 400 words on a page.
Right.
And so if you look at the screen of this television, on you'd need 3 screens like this to be the same as 1 page. So that's quite small. The 32,000 characters in here is about 12 pages in this book. So when you start talking about books, that 32,000 seems relatively small.
And that's obviously why you have to extend your storage capacity by using tapes or floppy disks, that kind of system.
Yes, the tape or this small floppy, that would handle about, at its maximum packing, its maximum amount it could store, would handle about a whole volume, the characters in a whole volume.
And this is about twice the diameter?
Yes, it's about double the amount of characters. That would hold about 1.2 million characters as a maximum.
Right. And for really big storage jobs, I suppose you need those really big hard disk memory banks, is that right?
Well, this one isn't one of the biggest. It's a sort of medium-sized machine, and this disc will hold about 80 of those novels, or the characters out of 80.
That's not just one
novels.
disc, is it? There are several.
No, there are 5 discs here, and the heads go in between to read the data, which is stored magnetically on those discs. And we can load it on the machine quite simply like this, bang, bang.
Oh, and there's the magnetic surface. In fact, it looks like magnetic tape, sort of laid out in the form of a flat gramophone record, almost.
Well, it's exactly the same principle, of course, but it's obviously much faster to access it, just like a gramophone record. You can pick an individual item of data out on it.
Right. Mind your thumb. And again, the bigger the machine, the bigger the storage capacity.
Yes, this particular machine, although not a very big mainframe machine, it has in fact got 1 million bytes of storage as opposed to the 32,000 that this little micro has. But the breakthrough is going to come with, I think, this, which is the video disc. And this will store the characters on this one disc that you'd need 3,000 books to store. And another way of putting it, for example, with cassette tape, it would require enough cassette tape to stretch from London to Chicago, and it would take 4 years to read that cassette tape.
The capacity to store the equivalent of 3,000 books is like the size of an encyclopedia.
Well, you'd actually get the whole of the Encyclopedia Britannica on this disc.
Well, let's just peep into the future for a moment, and we've got a little program lined up here, which could be the encyclopedia of the future. If I type in Space Shuttle, and there's your page of information. The book is open for you, and to make the page move so you can carry on reading it, all you have to do is press the space bar. What's more, this is something a video disc could do in the future. Not only do you have pages of written information, but if you typed in the word picture, and this is what you get. And make it move by doing that. But uses like that for the video disc are still a long way in the future. Because the computer can store and manipulate such vast amounts of information, we're only now beginning to discover ways to use it. Jill Neville reports.
Thank you very much. When you're ill in hospital, you need good, wholesome food, and it's important that you have a choice. A system of menu cards has helped in many hospitals, where you mark the card with the food you want. But you still have to order up to 24 hours in advance, and by then you mightn't be feeling so good, or you might have even been discharged. And that's meant a wastage of up to 20% of the food in some hospitals. Now, I ordered my lunch this morning, and this omelette was cooked in the kitchens just 6 minutes ago. The process has, of course, been computerized.
Of course, the computer has nothing to do with the actual cooking, but it greatly speeds up the counting of the dishes on the 500 menu cards. The patients benefit, and so do the chefs, who now know the precise quantities to be cooked. The computer the catering team chose can be bought in any high street computer shop, and it's small enough to fit on an office desk.
For the operator, the system couldn't be easier to use. Getting the information into the computer is also easy. An optical card reader scans each card and detects the mark that the patient has made opposite his choice.
But the computer can do more than just gather information about the number of dishes and meals. It can help the catering manager plan and cost the menus. Or, if it's given the exact recipe of each dish, even down to the last pinch of salt, it will print out the shopping list the chef needs to take to the stores.
Dish recipe code. So let's have an MC012, which happens to be the beef goulash.
What's more, if the computer's programmed with the price of each commodity, it can combine that with the shopping list and tell the catering manager the total cost of the day's meals, or the cost per patient, or indeed the total cost of any of the ingredients used in the kitchen that week.
And on the printer, out comes an analysis of how much that dish is going to cost.
The day-to-day running of the catering office is also greatly assisted by the computer. It's available to any of the staff who need it, and the information it can give them is only limited by the ingenuity of the programs they feed it. What started as a simple aid to reading menu cards has proved to be far more valuable because of its ability to process and retrieve information.
What the computer has also proved are that soggy chips are no longer the order of the day, because we know from the printout exactly how many portions of chips are needed on each of the 30 wards. We can divide them into groups of 5 and cook the chips in batches, exactly the right amount just before they're needed. The key to the whole operation is this timetable. It's almost military in its precision, and it's adhered to rigorously. 12:58 is the time that the next lot of things are due to leave for the wards.
At this hospital, they've had the computer system running for just 2 years, and it's paid for itself over and over again. It's now being installed at hospitals all over the country, and that means savings of hundreds of thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money every year.
Obviously a tremendously valuable thing for any hospital to have. But one thing I want to know about computer memory, it's you put stuff into storage and then you get stuff out. How does that really work, that business?
Well, in BASIC you have things called variables, and all that a variable really is the location in memory where your data is being stored. You don't have to know exactly whereabouts in memory it is located. The computer looks after that for you. All you have to remember is the variable that you've called it. And I think if you take a visit to memory, or in this case a bank vault, you get a rough idea of what I mean. In a bank vault, you give them your name, they may look at a list, and they'll come out with a number where your worldly wealth is located. In exactly the same sort of way, in BASIC, you give it a variable and you name it, and the computer will decide where it's to be located in memory, and whenever you give it that variable name, it goes to that location and pulls it out. It has no idea what's in there, but it just knows that when you give it that variable name, it goes to that position in store and takes the contents out, or copies of them, and gives them to you.
So just like the bank vault, the bank don't know what you've got in your box, so the computer doesn't know what's in that memory. And you don't know where the computer's located that particular bit of information until you want it, and the computer goes and finds it for you.
That's precisely correct, and like a bank, when you give your name, you always get what's in that box.
Right.